Okay. And we're live. And I'm Brad Herlock, your host of the Garage Grit podcast. And this is a live version or episode number 5 of our live series. And this week we're going to be in this Garage Grit live setting. We're diving into 3 high impact upsell opportunities for your shop, detailing, cosmetic and appearance services, as well as ADAS calibration. Now, just to kind of back up, as you know and recall, these little live seminars or sessions are all about kind of going a little bit deeper into recapping the full podcast from the prior episode. And so if you haven't yet watched the podcast episode 16, go check it out, Reimagining Profit. These videos are always better when you are engaged by jumping in with your own experiences and thoughts. So I really want to push and promote those types of things and get your comments, get your ideas. And it's okay to say, hey, I think that was a bad idea because, like, you don't have to be shy. Or, hey, this is a great idea, but here's how I did it. Because just to clarify, I'm not a repair shop coach. All right, I'm a digital marketing specialist. We work with repair shops exclusively every day, and the Garage Grit podcast is actually about helping as many repair shops as possible. That's the podcast project. And so these live streams that we're doing here are all about giving you additional practical ideas. And again, trying to get additional thoughts outside the panelists that were a part of the podcast. So how can we grow your shop today? So that's why your feedback isn't just welcomed, it's encouraged. We're here to help as many shop owners as possible, and your voice adds real value to that. So every week, we've been breaking down a different section of the last podcast. And again, that was episode 16, Reimagining Profit, Innovative Revenue Streams for Auto Repair Shops. If you haven't listened to that yet, you can jump out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course, YouTube. You can go give yourself a listen to that and then come back and listen to this stream, last week's stream, and the one before that, because the last week we talked about vehicle storage, tire storage, rentals, and we even dipped into selling used cars. So if you missed that, just scroll on down, get to last Tuesday, watch again. Feel free to comment on that and scroll down again. Like I said, this is number 5 of this. So we've been doing this for a little bit now, just getting started, right? But let's turn our attention today to appearance-based services. ADAS calibrations and detailing. These are areas that potentially have a great margin potential, and they can boost the customer satisfaction and trust. But I'm really curious. I want to hear what you're already doing in the genre of appearance-based services. What's worked? What hasn't worked? What are you thinking about adding? Feel free to just keep dropping the comments as you're listening and as we go. So we're talking about services that improve a car on how a car looks. And a lot of times our customers, your customers are, that's how they experience their car. They bring it in, they know something magical happened underneath the hood when he had a service interval. But that's kind of the extent. It doesn't necessarily feel different for them. And so what if we could raise our prices a little bit? What if you could raise your prices a little bit, but then give them that extra feeling from that kind of bundled service or that bundled package? What are they willing to pay extra for? And always, as always, consider what you have as far as resources at your shop and your facility and your people. So let's jump into detailing, cosmetic appearances, and ADAS calibration. And again, I'm not trying to, and ADAS might be the exception, but I'm not trying to flip your shop over on its head. I'm actually just trying to see where we can add pieces to it. So let's start with detailing. And let's face it, again, I've already mentioned about how they bring in their car for a service interval and they drive away, and there's a trust factor as far as, was it done? And of course it was done, right? But I mean, their experience with the car is on the inside, inside the cabin, not under the hood. So most customers love the idea of a clean car. So let's kind of think this through. What do you have available at your shop? Is it possible to do a quick out exterior wash or wax? Is it possible to kind of fix up the occasional paint correction? Or maybe you want to stay clear of that completely. What about a simple headlight restoration? And that actually gets more complicated with ADAS. What about interior detailing? Whether it's just a quick vacuum or whether it's shampooing, removing odors, conditioning the leather, getting rid of the dog hair, which is it's like a magnet, right? As far as how it weaves into the carpet fibers of the car. But one of the things that I want to point out is the level and the type of detailing that you're going to offer. Obviously, it's going to depend on your shop's tools, your people, your resources, as well as your market. But from the customer's perspective, if they're already paying $200 or $300, or your average ticket might be as much as $500 or $600 on miscellaneous repairs or inspections, why wouldn't they consider throwing in an additional 50, 100, 300 to get their car back even nicer than it was before? And so obviously for some shops it's not 50, it is more like $300 or $400, and obviously that's depending on the service level. But either way, and this is really, really important, you've got to be clear on the service level that you're offering. You need to set the expectations a little lower than what you're going to be delivering, so that there's a higher level of satisfaction on the other end. Earlier today, I was talking to a shop who told me they used to offer detailing services, and it kind of backfired on them because they weren't delivering on the customer's expectations. They hadn't successfully been able to share what they were delivering on with their cleanup services. And so that's super key. You've got to set the right bar. So again, you need to match those expectations with what you're offering, or set them lower so that you can easily exceed them. And that particular shop, by the way, is still doing detailing now, but they're only doing it occasionally, complimentary concierge type of thing, or a perk for VIPs. And so, now the customer's even happier. So that's another way just to make your accounts stickier, is you give them a quick vacuum, or you blow out some of the dust and whatnot with the compressed air, just real quick. But this portion, or this topic, we're focused on creating a repeatable revenue stream. So what if it was an add-on to every single service interval or inspection package, or every single time they came in? Think of it as icing on a cake. You're not out there trying to sell yourselves or position yourselves as a detailing service. You're not trying to market yourself as the local detailing company. It's an add-on to make your customers stickier, more loyal, more likely to return. These services are more than just top-level type stuff. I mean, it's making the customer feel like they have a newer car, and that perception is what actually keeps them coming back. Are you currently offering detailing for your shop? And if so, is it a bundled service with other things, or are you treating it like a standalone product? Would you take somebody who just wants to come in off the street and say, I need to have my car cleaned? Or are you only offering it to cars that you're servicing? Feel free to put in, I'm curious, what are your pricing models? What are your packaging ideas in the comments? I'd love to see and hear about what's working. All right, let's move on to a little bit more complicated appearance-based upsells. Window tinting. There are shops that are offering window tinting as kind of an add-on because they noticed they were getting a lot of phone calls on it. And I mentioned this before. Listen to your customers. What are people calling in regularly asking for that you don't currently provide? If there's a trend, now the next question is, can you provide that service? Or can you refer it out to someone else? And so window tinting is a possible scenario. I've also heard of shops who are now removing the window tinting as a possible service because the laws changed in their state. Minor scratch and dent repair, minor plastic trim restoration, windshield chip repair. And some of these get a little bit complicated depending on the make and model of the car and whether or not you're going to require an ADAS calibration afterwards. But you don't have to always bring all of these in-house. You could always potentially partner with a mobile detailing tech, or subcontract it out and just make a smaller margin. the key is the customer's already trusting you with their car while they're there in for a repair. They're primed to say yes to some of these smaller upgrades. And now, granted, the economy is a little bit in flux right now, and that might change things. And so, it's a matter of what are we looking at over the long haul. What cosmetic services has anyone out there in this community offered? What worked? What didn't work? Are you considering adding any? And is it kind of a seasonal bundle promotional thing just to try to, when you guys are slower? Or is it an everyday, always thing? All right, so the next topic that we're going to jump into is ADAS calibration. And, we're talking about lane assist, adaptive cruise, collision avoidance, etc. Now, out of all the different reimagining profit for an auto repair shop, all the different add-on revenue streams, again, we've always been talking about what little things can we do to kind of the icing on the cake. Where it comes to ADAS, this is by far the most complex of the things that we've talked about. You've got to consider what resources you have available, and, well, as always, and how much you're willing to invest, because it is going to require a significant investment on your part. But out of all the ideas, well, again, this one costs the greatest investment, but it might also have the largest margin for you, of course. It's not a quick, easy add-on. You need to make sure that your bay is properly set up for the calibrations. We're talking about level flooring, a clean environment, correct specifications. You're going to need the OEM software from each manufacturer fully updated on a regular basis, and not the aftermarket tools. There's also a little bit of a liability legal side to this. You're going to want to be able to prove that it was recalibrated every single time correctly, performed accurately within the OEM specifications each time. So it's not a passive service like kind of quick vacuum or compressed air on the dash. It's a technical and sensitive work that requires precision. So don't jump into this with any kind of haste. Now, once you're in it, now you could potentially collaborate with the other shops in town, particularly the body shops. A surprisingly number of body shops don't yet offer ADAS calibration, and they actually have to look to outside sources. And I'm sure that's changing as we speak. But this is becoming a specialty type feel or vertical. Now, when you're doing, mechanical repairs to a car, you need to be very sensitive to what's going to trigger the need for an ADAS calibration, especially if you aren't currently offering it. So now, you're not going to get into windshield replacement too often, but there's another good example. But suspension work, changing the ride height for suspension. I mean, Jeep lifts are extremely common. You're going to need to get all of those sensors recalibrated potentially. Same with wheel alignments. The ADAS sensors are calibrated relative to the vehicle's thrust angle, and wheel alignment can trigger the need for a recalibration, especially with cars with radar systems. If you're disconnecting or replacing parts with sensors or cameras, whether it's the grills, the headlamps, or the mirrors, whatever, you're going to need to recalibrate them when you're putting them back on potentially. And so if you're not offering this service, collaborating with someone who does is probably important. Changes to tire sizes, battery or module replacements. All these things are kind of flags for whether or not ADAS is necessary, and often it needs to be checked out. But again, back to the revenue stream, because that's really what we're talking about here. If you have the extra bay that you can invest in and set up, you have a significant market share. Now, the general consumer doesn't fully understand the need for constant, for recalibration. But so there's still an education piece to it, but you're getting ahead of the curve because this is just going to be a growing market. Okay. Let's see here. So if you're not offering ADAS services, it's understood that following any of those procedures that might misalign a calibration to get it checked. Okay, I just already said that. Very good. Moving on. I mean, the bottom line is the customer's trusting you, right? To have a safe vehicle when you get it back. And if you mess up with the calibration and aren't aware, and they're not aware, but they think it's safer and cleaner, then that could get you into a little bit of trouble. It can get you into trouble from the safety feature perspective, as well as liability risks. And obviously customers will be upset. So it's not just a matter of getting the light off the dash. It's about keeping the people safe, of course. That said, and how important it is, this is why you can charge a premium for this service. But you're going to invest a little bit in the educating the other shops in the area, as well as your customers, on how important this piece is. But you're going to be able to keep the revenue in-house instead of putting it out somewhere else. But it is going to require quite an investment to make that happen. All right, so who's doing ADAS calibrations? Actually, I believe there was somebody from, I want to say episode 7, who was doing in-house calibrations. And so you could go check out that podcast. I think we actually touched on that a little bit. That was actually about taking the shop over from our prior generation. I believe that was in July of 2024. But if you're doing ADAS calibration in-house, what systems or equipment are you using? Talk to me about what it took you to get invested in it, what you've done already, and what you're planning on doing next. What has been the biggest roadblock? Has it been the cost? Has it been the space? Or has it been the education and marketing of the service to get everyone to understand that they need to be bringing their cars to you for this? And again, your customer base isn't, in this case, just your existing customer base, right? It's also body shops and other repair shops who are mechanical repair shops who are in need of the service for their customers. All right, so let's wrap up. Today we've covered detailing services that we can add a small margin but increase the customer loyalty significantly. Same with cosmetic appearances. These are small, little, easy upsells potentially that could still be a profitable and actually increase the stickiness of the customer. Now the ADAS calibrations, that's a boost in trust, obviously a big talking point, a big revenue point, a big shop reputation point, but also a correspondingly significant serious time investing and planning it out. So what are you currently offering? What are you thinking about doing next for your shop? Are there appearance or tech-based services that you've been hesitant to try, and why? Please drop a comment below, share what's working, what's not working, ask a question, share a thought, tell us about something that you bailed on or help somebody else, or what have you learned here? If you haven't yet listened to the Garage Grit podcast, episode 16, Reimagine Profit, Innovative Revenue Streams for Auto Repair Shops, go cue it up right after this stream. It's packed with strategies to turn your downtime space into trusted revenue. All right, next week's live, let me tell you a little bit about it. We're going to be talking about the topic. So let me back up. Next week on April 16th, we're planning on live streaming here the April's recording of the podcast, episode 17. And what are we going to be talking about? Well, you're going to find out next Tuesday during this live stream. I'll tell you then. And until then, I'll see you around. Thank you.